Hey equestrians, welcome back to Uplift Equine. 90% of equestrians don't use them correctly. Today we're going to talk about bits and bitting. In the early parts of riding horses in our history, a lot of people tried a lot of different things in the horse's mouth to make sure that they could control their head and be able to ride them effectively. At this time, horsemanship wasn't really developed well. It was just catch the horse, get on him, let's see if he can stay on. Very similar to some of today's styles. Some of these materials are bone, leather, wood, etc. A lot of these materials broke down in the horse's mouth and the saliva destroyed it over time. So these materials didn't last very long. Fast forward to the Bronze Age, where we started using metal in the horse's mouth. The reason why that metal was used, it didn't break down very quickly and it lasted longer, so you could just use your tack, get the horse's head going, and continue to do that for years on end. So one bit, one horse, done. Then along came the idea that horses can be used in battle as cavalry. This horse could be used for war. Humans love war, don't they? The Greek horseman Xenophon decided that he wanted to write all of this stuff down. He learned from his instructors and it was an oral tradition, but he's going to write this thing down and make sure that it is solidified through time, because we still have his writings today. So in Xenophon's book, he goes into the detailed descriptions of how to locate a war horse, what the war horse is supposed to act like, and how to train them. The basis of Xenophon's training was controlling the horse through leg and seat, so actually training the horse, instead of using forceful techniques that were probably being used at the time. But through the seat and leg thing, it gave the warrior the opportunity to use their hands. So the bit was used only when necessary, and usually one-handed because the other hand had a sword. As time went on, the curb bit was invented. So the curb bit was used specifically for one-handed training. Even more specifically for when you went into battle and you had your hands full of weapons and you were paying attention to other things, the horse needed to respond to your seat and leg very well. And then the curb, you could take it up with your current, like your shield hand, and move the horse around. Now, the responsiveness of the horse was literally a life and death issue. Take away all comfort from the horse, just say, okay, we're getting in here and we're getting out and we're both going to be alive. That is what was being considered when those things were invented. And when the idea of horse training and getting the horse to do whatever you wanted it to do became more of a thing. As time went on, more and more riding academies came into existence. Each of the riding academies tended to follow a certain country's tradition. So like the German Riding Academy, the Spanish Riding School, the Portuguese Riding School, etc., etc. Over time, a lot of specialized horse competitions started because more and more these guys wanted to test their abilities, and as horses were used less and less for war, there was less and less of an outlet for that. So, you know, with knights, or even later on for World War I, horses were still used, but less and less, and used more and more for strictly transportation. So they wanted to test their skills. They did jousting, or dressage, or mounted combat. Other things later on started as a test of jumping, so hunter jumping, or actual fox hunting, which was a thing for a long time in the European nobles. But anyway, I did not look into the history of hunting, because that's not what this video is about. But anyway, we've got show jumping that came out of that, and etc., and etc., and etc. So competitions were a way to prove yourself to your friend over here who you were competing against, and kind of hopefully impress a girl or something. I'm sure that was part of it. But since we are no longer riding in war, and we are currently getting our horses to jump over colorful poles, or dance around an arena, or just go on a fun trail ride, we no longer need these harsh bits that make up for training losses. no more war on horses. We want to make sure that they're just as comfortable as we are. So why do we continue to use harsh bits? Well, many trainers that you may know of. I know it's more prevalent in the United States that I know of because I live here. A trainer that has just kind of hit a wall, they don't really know what to do next, or they've been taught this is what the next thing to do is. They say, okay, well, the horse is no longer going well in this bit, let's try another bit. And many trainers get this collection of bits that's just like, you know, you've got this trainer that's like this whole wall of bits, like, I have a use for every single one of them. That's a red flag, guys. That's a red flag. Yeah, no, not every horse goes well in the same exact bit all the time. But if that's your solution to problems, that you have a problem. That is a problem, so buyer beware, please. The reason why trainers do this is because when you do change out a bit on a horse, it's something that changes. So the horse isn't used to that. So as kind of a step back, they take a step back and think, okay, I'm going to listen to it, but I'm not really sure if I like this. Since the horse becomes more responsive in the short term, the trainer will say, oh, the horse loves this bit. It responds so much better. This bit is amazing. It solves all your problems. And then later, the horse is having the same exact problem later. And then they try another bit, and then another. And then sometimes they loop around with the first one, and never really ever took care of the original root cause of the issue in the first place. And people go through this process over and over and over. Bits are expensive, let me tell you. Why not just buy one for your horse that helps you with communication and then make up the difference with the training? Because that's what it's supposed to do. So if you have a trainer that is not quite transparent about their system and they're not quite transparent about what they do next, then you have a problem. That's a red flag. And that's why, say in Europe, there's a lot of certifications that you have to go through. In order to be an instructor, you must be certified. In order to be a trainer, you must be certified. At least that's how I understand it. Please comment down below if that is not true, because I'd like to know. I would love to go to Europe. I've never been there. So I just know how it works out here in the United States, and it's a ride 'em cowboy kind of style. And it's not good. It really isn't. Just today I saw somebody flip a horse over and say, it was the horse's fault. I say, well, maybe it's your training. Starting a horse in a lunge cavesson on the ground. So, groundwork, in-hand work, lunge work. Start there. Try to discover the horse's problems whilst you're not on top of them. So they're only moving their own weight around, and then you can see maybe physical problems, mental issues, emotional problems, anything. Where is it? Figure it out. A lunge cavesson is bitless, so then you're giving the horse a break from the bit. Every kind of training issue will start to surface when you have a lunge cavesson, because it is not a severe, it is not a severe tool at all. It could become one, but naturally, it is not. And then later, determining whether a horse will go better in a simple snaffle bit or a bitless bridle. Not all horses go well in bitless bridle. Sometimes they just do not want their face touched in that manner or pressurized in that manner. They'd rather have a bit in their mouth, or vice versa. It really just depends. Figuring out what is right for your horse comes a little bit later. But the lunge cavesson is used to generally discover things and teach the horse how to move its head as a fulcrum in the first place. But for riding purposes, because a different pressure is applied for in-hand and riding than for groundwork and lunging. Similar but different. So just keep that in mind. Since this is a bits video and we are talking about bits, I would say, since I am not one of those crazy bitless, bridleless, bareback people that some people may assume, I do have a favored snaffle type bit that I start off for just about any horse, or I suggest a client to start off in just about any horse. That will reveal a lot of things. So I like to have a simple French link snaffle, but a simple French link snaffle will go right around the tongue And if the action is at the corner of the lips or at the bars, depending on where the horse's head is going, because the horse's head is going to go everywhere, because the horse is relearning how to balance themselves, because much of the time they never learn how to do that in the first place. But if the horse's head is all over the place, then the French link is, in my opinion, the kindest type of bit. There is another type of bit that's out there that I haven't tested out and I really want to. It is the Vindavin gel bit system, and I would love to try it out, but I have not, so I cannot really vouch for it at this time. Back to my simple French link. Unlike a regular snaffle, the French link, when the action is at the bars of the mouth, like right on the bottom, if the horse is going up, the joint does not interfere with the horse's palate. That can happen with a snaffle because the way a snaffle is designed, the single jointed one, it's supposed to act at the corners of the lip, which mean the horse's head is forward down or level, such as in a working gait. That's why it's upgraded later. But a French link is nice because the horse can just move its head all around and then you can figure out what's really going on from there. And at this time, until more things are figured out, such as the underlying issues, and then teaching the horse how to actually respond to the seat and leg, the actual seat and leg, not leg aids that are just spurring, but actual seat and leg. The horse then, until that is achieved, is not a candidate for curb bit migration. And I call this curb bit migration is because the way to migrate from a snaffle to a curb, because a curb tells the horse different things, you go into a double bridle. Double bridles are in the majority misused because they are used as a, well, I need to teach my horse, algebraic equations through the double bridle, and I need both bits because both bits will tell the horse what to do with the advanced riding. No. Double bridle video later, but let me tell you this right now, the double bridle is originally designed to transfer from the snaffle to the curb and then later throw out the snaffle because it is later then no longer used and no longer needed. That's why many riding masters have the double bridle in and then they have the snaffle rein dropped because that means the horse is fully migrated over to the curb, so that means a lot of the secondary aid hand signals that were used in the snaffle are now transferred to the seat and leg. And the remainder hand signals or hand aids are done in a curb bit. So that's how it's supposed to go. Finding a reputable coach is the next and final step in helping you get through these issues with your horse. It is extremely important because the continuing education of yourself as a horseman is of utmost importance. So many people decide they just want to fix it with a gadget or a stronger bit or something. Stop wasting your money. So they spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on these pieces of equipment that are not going to help them instead of teaching themselves, or instead of paying for education that can make all of that unnecessary. So educating yourself through coaching, lessons, online lessons, books, videos, etc. from reputable sources. Your horse is a teammate, so they need to be just as educated.